Next up, we want to welcome a panel of Intel execs who will talk about why diversity in technology matters, from culture to products. Hema is the Director of Technical Advocacy with AI for Good at Intel. Hema is going to kick things off. Welcome, Hema.
Thank you. Thank you, Sukrita. Hi, and Sukrita and Angie, thanks for having us here. And I'm really glad to be here with my colleagues, Huma and Caroline. And let me hand it to Huma to kind of introduce herself and then to Caroline before we get talking. And also, Huma, if you can say, I like the panel in the past, in the previous one where they said, how did you come into being a technologist? Is it like accident or is this your lifelong dream you have been? So if Caroline, if you can do the same, that would be great.
Absolutely. So happy International Women's Day to everybody. I love the theme this year, Break the Bias. So I am Huma Abidi, Senior Director of AI Software Products at Intel. And in my role, I'll talk about what I do now, and then I'll talk about how I got into this. So in my role, I lead a globally diverse team of engineers, technologists, and they are responsible for delivering AI products which help our customers to create their solutions. So pretty much my entire career, I would say I have been an advocate for women's advancement, education, and I founded Women in Machine Learning at Intel. And I'm involved in various solutions at Intel to do that. How did I come about? I was studying to be a doctor. And I met my husband and all his friends, including Caroline here. So I met these people, bunch of engineers who were awesome, and I took one computer science course, and then I ended up doing master's in computer science, and I basically let go my pre-med in chemistry, and I came into technology, and I have been at Intel since. I was a RCG, recent college graduate, and I've spent my entire career at Intel doing all kinds of different technologies, binary translations, compilers. And right now, I'm super excited to be working on AI, which is AI is everywhere. And I will pause now, let Caroline talk, because I can go on forever.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Caroline Chen. I'm a Vice President and General Manager of New Network Business Incubation Division inside Intel's Network and Edge Group. So my focus is on 5G. And Edge, especially around taking 5G into different enterprises, different verticals. So how did I come about doing this? I think I was born into this. My mother was one of the first women in China that graduated in an engineering degree, and not just any engineering, but she was actually working on a communication side. So I never had an option. I guess both my parents were in this field. They were professors back in China. So when I came here at 18 years old, I went to University of Texas in Austin, and I started engineering school and never looked back. And not just engineering, but I've been in wireless and telco my entire career. I had the fortune to meet Huma when she first got married to her husband. Her husband and I were actually classmates and good friends. So I trapped her into doing this engineering field, but it has been great. I'm doing a lot of this similar to Huma. It's pay it forward. We went through this journey. There's challenges, the learnings. We would like to share that with the ladies coming after us, and hopefully, we benefit everyone.
Thank you, Caroline. I mean, the same with me, right? And you said you had no choice but to be an engineer. I had two choices, right? Like the one in the previous panel, either be a doctor or an engineer. And so I was like you, whom I just realized I wanted to be a doctor, just like my sister. And it just happened, just like it was a very conservative family. I couldn't travel to the place where I had to go to college, and so I ended up taking engineering, and I love it. I went to school here, and I went to my master's, came to Intel, the greatest company that builds technology, and I've been here. I love it, and and I started really hands-on, trying to kind of build tools, and then moved on to saying, what, I want to really understand how technology impacts people, right? And that's where I've been really focused on trying to understand how technology can be used for good. And I want to kind of get your perspective as we think about this, right? It's like we get all excited as technologists about the superpowers like AI, 5G, edge, cloud, and it's a great, exciting time right now because companies realize that it's great in order to build this powerful, rich technology products and platforms. We have to put people in the center of it, right? And they're kind of walking the talk, trying to kind of put things into place to kind of make sure people are at the center of it, right? And especially, but then again, if you hear people, right, it's like there's a little bit of an overload of everything DEI, and there is like, people are like, what is this big hoopla about DEI? And I thought, as women, we kind of internalize it. We have been through so many challenges. We understand why it is needed. But I thought, in our day-to-day work, I thought it would be good to kind of share our perspective on why DEI is important. And I can kind of kick it off quickly. When I think about tech and AI for good, right? Like technology has been like pervasive, like AI especially has been pervasive in terms of how it has kind of touched so many industry sectors, how much it has impacted our lives, right, in many areas. And then because I have a health and life sciences kind of focus, I can really appreciate how much AI has compressed, the time and money and kind of made things possible that was not possible before. And yet we have seen in many ways, AI also has kind of shown how things can go wrong when it comes to your healthcare or hiring or justice. We've seen so many examples where it has gone wrong. And it really comes down to the thing that one of the key problems is the lack of representation, the lack of representation, the diverse thoughts, the diverse experiences that need to be there to kind of really make sure we have representation at the data level, because when you think about healthcare, there's very much lacking. Women's data is lacking in healthcare. So if you think of data or even the representation of people who are building tools or people who are making the decisions, there's a lack of representation. And so without that, right, I really feel like we will never be able to realize these superpowers that we talk about, right? So for me, tech or AI for good it's really critical to have representation, because without which we will not see tech being used for good. So that's my perspective. So let me bring in AI, Huma, because you and your team are building the AI tool. So what is your perspective on why the AI?
Yeah, so as you said, Hema, that AI is everywhere, absolutely. And this is from helping determine who is hired or fired or granting a loan or how much time recidivism or how long a person should spend time in prison, or should they be back in prison or whatever. All kinds of decisions that were traditionally performed by humans are now being made by algorithms, right? So it is no surprise that AI is learning gender and other biases from humans. And it's a huge societal issue, whether, I'm building products or whatever. Let's just talk about that first, and then I'll talk about specifics of what I'm doing about it. So over and over again, we hear about examples, especially that are highlighting these biases towards women and minority. And as you said, we can have data bias. Data is coming from society, right? And so lack of representation there in the society, in the data, and then algorithms also. People who are building these algorithms, if they are not representing underrepresented minority or women, then that leaks into the algorithm as well. So this is not only, first of all, a technical problem, right? Because as I just said, there is innate or unconscious bias that will show up in the decisions making. So if people who are building or creating technology is homogeneous, then it will work for that particular thing, right? So that is true for any technology, but especially in AI, because it is making those kinds of decisions. So in my opinion, if women and other minorities from community are part of the teams developing these tools, they will be more aware of what can go wrong. Right. So first, let's talk about that. And working in AI projects, we need to make sure our current and future algorithms are not just powerful, but they are also ethical and fair. And that's what my focus is. that's something that I actually initiated on my own to make sure that, let's focus on how much explainability is there in our software that we are building. So besides that, I obviously, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm advocate for women, and I founded Women in Machine Learning and encouraging women to be a part of that. And Hema, to your point, I have found out that women are very interested in AI for social good projects. Whenever I talk about, they're like, can I be part of it? I feel like women want to be in a world where they want to see their children and others, have a fair
future generations.
ethical, So coming back to explainable AI, right? So we AI decisions, especially in deep neural networks, right? Machine learning still has decision trees and all, where you can say how decisions are made, classical machine learning. But deep neural networks, it's like a black box. We don't know how these decisions are made. What is am I taking too much time? I'll wrap up soon.
Go ahead.
I will just wrap up and say that explainable AI, data sheets for data set, where the data came from, model cards for model explainability, all of that, those things are being put in, and that's going to help with that. So
No, I think what you're saying is basically AI is like, reinforces and amplifies what we do. So the more good we put in with the right representation, good comes out of it. Otherwise, it can go the negative way. So, Carolyn, you are really, driving this exciting phase of 5G edge, right? And broadband access has kind of shown how critical it is, especially in these times of, the pandemic crisis or the conflicts that we are kind of, watching. Can you please share with us why do you think DEI is important for enabling this innovative?
Yeah, wireless and telco industry had long had issues with DEI because it has been always selling to a very finite set of customers, think like AT&T and Verizon and so on. But with 5G, the pervasive connectivity, much like the pervasive AI, you have to reach into every different enterprises and verticals. What that means is your audience, your end customers, rapidly becomes everybody in a society. So 50% of our women, and you have to have that different mindset. I'll give you an example. We launched a project in Sacramento school district during the crisis that we are facing, because children were not able to learn in some neighborhoods that did not have a rich communication. So the folks that work on this as mother, we immediately recognize how critical that is. We combined, Intel Foundation came in, the network group alongside with AWS and other companies that went in and immediately put in a rich communication based on 5G and based on Wi-Fi to enable our children to learn. Right now, we're working on a critical project to putting containers with communications, with satellite uplinks on the border with Poland, so that when the mothers, with the children arriving from Ukraine, were able to at least let their family back home know that they arrived safely. It's that kind of empathy that I think some of us women probably have a little bit more, because our experience as daughters and mothers and sisters and wives, we emphasize more. To me, it's not just selling something. It's really a project of passion. It's about technology for good. You talk about AI for good. I always have a philosophy. 5G needs to be for good as well. It's not just for selling. It's really for enriching our lives, make our lives better than before.
And so like you said, we have that built-in kind of empathy, but at the same time, we feel like this is not something that women are like we can do it alone, right? We need the broader the community, but there has been a little bit of discomfort if you maybe have seen how should we kind of address that, right? We know it's important, we know how it's impacting the technologies, it is needed for building rich products and better results, but how do we kind of help us to kind of make this become a reality where we have equal representation, right, of the diverse representation? Any thoughts?
If I would just start like in the telco side, majority of the decision makers are still men. We need them. We need them to be part of the game. We simply are saying is that women has been so underrepresented all the years. We simply wanted to gain more visibility, but in reality, 80% of the time, we are working with other men. We ask for more understanding, and we should also make ourselves more visible, a little bit more vulnerable, sharing when we are feeling that we need help or we need them to help us. I think we should be more vocal. I do find most men are open to work with us. Vast majority are. So,
How about you, Huma?
I 100% agree with Caroline, but I feel that we have to first level the playing field. This is, that's what I tell people, that of course, if you're referring to that, somebody was commenting, why do they have Women's International Day and why do we, whatever, diversity and this, and this is a fact, right? We have the data to prove that, we don't have, so at Intel, we're doing so many different things. For example, in 2019, I believe we reached gender pay equity. It took so many years and finally we reached that goal. And this is global, right? Yeah. Then we are taking goals. There is a reason why we're taking goals, because this is a problem. So for our 2030 goals, one is for women and underrepresented minorities to double the number of them in senior leadership position. There was a problem because we weren't there. The other one is that by 2030, 40% of women will be in the technical field. So working in technology. So these are the things, right? So first we level the playing field. Of course, there would be diversity for everyone. There won't be a women. But right now we have an issue. And as Caroline said, a lot of men, they have been so supportive. And so it's been awesome that we have support. But if there are these questions asked, this is my response always.
Very correct, right? You're talking about the need. What is the need? The fact that there is less than 25% in AI, 25% of role of women representation in AI, right? When there is 75% of jobs out there. So the disparity needs to be fixed, right? But and then we have to, create this environment of, I'm part of the Women in AI group where we call zero exclusion. Nobody's excluded. We want everybody to come in and help us, but there is a disparity. Help us, really fix that one, right? And I have mentors who are men who are really being very supportive. And I would encourage more of them, right, to kind of step out and help us get to a place where we really create this reality where we're all in there. There are no holes in any of the data. There is no holes in the presentation, and we can really create some amazing things, right? And again, I'm glad that Intel is actually walking the talk. They have this audacious goals like the ones that you talked about, Huma, in that, how to double the number of women, right, in the leadership roles. And also the fact that we should start early, right? People, it's not just hiring and retaining, it's also, So anything on that one, on what we could do better on the pipeline?
Yeah, so again, I'll come back to the work that Intel is doing. Obviously, I'm very involved in various things, but there is a Million Girls Moonshot project that Intel has, and it is joined forces with some fantastic foundations. And this is aimed at equipping 1 million girls from under-resourced communities with engineering mindset. Once we have that, that is the building the pipeline, and once we have enough in the pipeline, then we can just change. So foundation has to be changed. We cannot just.
I see Angie is kind of giving us. We could keep talking, but thank you.
It's over.
Joining us. Yes, it's a fast conference day. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a full day.